Morning to you, Jonathan.
Good morning.
Okay, you're thrust into the limelight as a 17-year-old on Britain's Got Talent. How old do you think you were when you realised you had that voice?
He walked on stage a nervous, bullied teen and left a global sensation. Jonathan Antoine's voice stunned millions. But what the world didn't see was the silent struggle behind the spotlight. Battling depression, anxiety, and later a life-changing diagnosis, Jonathan's journey didn't end after the applause faded. It was just beginning. Fans remember his powerful audition, but few know the real story of what came after. Where is he now? What heartbreaks, triumphs, and transformations shaped the man behind the voice? Stay tuned because Jonathan's story is far deeper than one unforgettable song. This is the truth you haven't heard. Jonathan Antoine was born on January 13th, 1995, in Chigwell, Essex, a quiet suburban area just outside of London. His early years weren't filled with music or applause, they were filled with tears. From the age of 4, he was relentlessly bullied for his weight. He was called names, mocked in front of classmates, and often ate lunch alone in tears. Food, for him, became comfort. And by 6 years old, he weighed almost 100 pounds, yet at the same time, something extraordinary was happening inside him. Jonathan had perfect pitch, an extremely rare ability that allowed him to recognize and reproduce any note without reference. He could hear a composition once and hum it back flawlessly. Doctors would later describe his condition as a form of musical savant syndrome, but genius came with a price. By age 8, Jonathan showed signs of deep clinical depression. His parents, especially his mother, were deeply concerned. She took out loans, even mortgaged the house twice to pay for therapy, but nothing truly helped. Until music came into his life. At age 10, during an ordinary school choir session, a substitute teacher named Mrs. Williams heard Jonathan sing for the first time. What she described was astonishing. It was like hearing Pavarotti trapped inside the body of a child. His voice was rich, mature, and emotionally gripping. Soon, he was performing solos meant for adults. His voice could hit 95 decibels louder than most opera professionals without a microphone. By age 15, he had already stunned crowds at the Stratford and East London Music Festival, earning the highest score in its history from Sir David Wilcox. He was soon accepted into the Royal Academy of Music's junior program, an elite institution where only 23 out of 2,800 applicants are accepted. But despite his gift, Jonathan remained deeply self-conscious and anxious. He struggled to make friends. He often vomited before auditions from stress. Then came a turning point, one that would change his life forever. In high school, Jonathan was paired with a bubbly, confident girl named Charlotte Giaconelli. Their teacher thought their voices would complement each other. They sang the prayer together in a small classroom and the chemistry was instant. What started as a school assignment turned into something far greater. In early 2012, the duo began performing at weddings, pubs, and local events, earning a few £100s here and there. But it was Charlotte who pushed Jonathan to audition for Britain's Got Talent. He initially refused. He was terrified of being laughed at, judged for how he looked. But Charlotte didn't give up. With just minutes left before the application deadline, she submitted the audition. On April 28, 2012, Jonathan Antoine and Charlotte Giaconelli stood nervously on the stage of the London Palladium for their Britain's Got Talent audition. Jonathan, dressed plainly and visibly anxious, stood beside a poised and smiling Charlotte. Before they sang, Simon Cowell was caught muttering, "Just when you think it can't get any worse," based solely on Jonathan's appearance. But then they sang. As their voices soared through the prayer, the room exploded with emotion. People in the audience wept. The judges were stunned. Even Simon Cowell, known for his brutal critiques, admitted he was wrong. The performance went viral, becoming the most viewed audition in Britain's Got Talent history at the time. But the road ahead was not without pressure. Simon Cowell later advised Jonathan to split from Charlotte and pursue a solo career, but Jonathan refused. "We came as a duo, we stay as a duo." That integrity only deepened his connection with fans. Though they finished second to a dancing dog act in the finale, Jonathan and Charlotte were signed by Simon Cowell's label. Their debut album, together, reached the top 10, selling more than 150,000 copies. After the successful albums and countless performances, the duo quietly split in 2014. It wasn't scandalous, it was natural. Charlotte leaned toward musical theater, while Jonathan wanted to pursue classical opera. Remarkably, Sony Music offered them both solo contracts, a rare move in the industry. Charlotte Giaconelli moved into stage productions. Jonathan Antoine, on the other hand, took a break. The fame, the constant pressure, and his ongoing battle with mental health pushed him into isolation, but in late 2014, he returned with a solo album, Tenor, which topped the UK classical charts. In 2020, he released another record, Going the Distance, featuring the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. But behind the success was a personal discovery that would change everything. In late 2022, just after his 27th birthday, Jonathan Antoine was officially diagnosed with autism. He opened up about it in a powerful interview in Australia, revealing how it helped explain years of emotional confusion, burnout, and sensory overwhelm. He had spent nearly 28 years misdiagnosed, misunderstood even by himself. This diagnosis didn't weaken him, it freed him. He became an advocate for autism awareness, mental health, and neurodiversity on World Autism Awareness Day. He shared his journey on Instagram, calling it the first time in years I truly felt seen. Fans flooded his comments with support, many saying he had inspired them to seek answers in their own lives. Meanwhile, Jonathan continued working on his health. He'd battled weight issues since childhood, an uphill fight made harder by an undiagnosed thyroid condition that slowed his metabolism. In 2013, he joined Weight Watchers, eventually losing over 70 pounds with medical treatment and new discipline. He committed to walking 10,000 steps a day, a goal he's only missed twice since starting. This wasn't about image, it was about self-respect. I feel stronger and healthier than I have in a decade, he said in a 2021 update. But perhaps the most beautiful chapter in Jonathan's life began quietly with love. He met Michelle Deci, a Canadian waitress, through an online chat service. At first, it was casual to people sharing music and thoughts, but over time, their bond deepened into something profound. She became his emotional rock, his inspiration, and his closest friend. They went public in 2016, and fans embraced their relationship. Michelle has been by Jonathan's side through tours, album recordings, and personal growth. Her support helped him rebuild from the inside out. Today, Jonathan Antoine is more than a classical singer. He's a symbol of survival, a voice of courage, and an example of what's possible when raw talent meets relentless heart. That his net worth is now estimated at over $4 million. His YouTube channel has amassed over 64 million views. Albums like Believe and Going the Distance continue to top classical charts worldwide. But beyond the fame, beyond the numbers, what matters most is the legacy he's building. A documentary chronicling his life, tentatively titled Beyond the High Sea, is now in development. Directed by David J. Baird, it promises never-before-seen footage, behind-the-scenes stories, and a deeper look at the young man who once stood terrified on a stage and stunned the world with his voice. So next time you hear that voice, rich, trembling with passion, breaking barriers and melting hearts, remember this: Jonathan Antoine didn't just survive, he transformed. He carried the weight of silence, the sting of judgment, and the shadow of illness, and turned it into music. He took his pain and gave it wings. And he continues to rise note after note, stage after stage, moment after moment. If his story moved you, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe for more real, powerful stories of talent, strength, and second chances. Thanks for watching.